I'm Storm Track 12 meteorologist Les Still here with your Wednesday morning forecast. And as we progress on through the next several days here, the heat and humidity is going to continue. But we've got the tropics that are finally coming to life, very active in the tropics as of this morning. We have our first hurricane of the 2013 season, and also 3 other areas of interest that we are tracking and watching, none of which will have any impact to any land close to here in eastern Carolina. Heat does continue as we go on through the rest of this work week, and as we head on into the weekend, we are going to be falling back into much cooler, more refreshing air coming our way. Our first real taste of fall, lower humidity levels here, cooler temps. Should be a fairly nice weekend in store for us here in eastern Carolina. All right, let's highlight the areas in the tropics that we are watching here. A couple different areas. We do have just off the African coast, we've got now Hurricane Umberto. Watching this another little swirl here on the central windward and leeward islands. Also here around the Yucatan Peninsula, an area of low pressure potentially could develop, and that may go up maybe the U.S.-Mexican border there in deep South Texas possibly. And then, of course, we've got Gabrielle that we're tracking. Now, this is Gabrielle here, not this big cluster of thunderstorms a couple hundred miles off to the northeast of it here. So lots of action that are taking place in the tropics for this morning. Let's deal with our first hurricane this morning, Umberto, kind of looking like it's trying to develop an eye feature here, fairly strong convection, about 3,400 miles to the east-southeast of us here. Pressure now down below that 1,000 millibar threshold, so this has strengthened at 16.0 north and 28.9 west. Again, Umberto is going to be probably about the next day or so in an area where it potentially could intensify a little bit more, or at least maintain its Category 1 status here. But as we do progress on through the middle of this week, going in towards the weekend, it does take a fairly sharp left-hand turn heading on out into the central Atlantic as the Azores highs kind of flexes back down, forcing the storm out there. By that point, it's going to be into an area where it's going to have cooler sea surface temperatures, as well as that dry Saharan dust. It's going to be ingesting that again. So we do not expect this to intensify. Maybe early next week we could still see a trackable low-level center with it, but really not anticipating this to make a comeback like we saw with Gabrielle as it flared up yesterday. All right, let's track that little area in the central Atlantic there. You'll notice it does have some thunderstorm action with it, but no low-level center. Again, the other area we are watching there is off the Yucatan Peninsula. That wave is probably going to work its way across the Yucatan and then emerge back out in the Bay of Campeche, where we've seen already Fernand as well as Tropical Depression 8 form. This one by Thursday or Friday potentially could be developing, and looks like another quick developing system that'll move inland as it makes its way on into the Mexican portion of the Gulf of Mexico region. All right, Gabrielle. It is starting to develop a whole lot of shear as it's getting its energy pulled out of it. But again, holding on as a tropical storm right now. Pressure at 1008 millibars, so it's not really all that strong. About 650 miles or so to the east-southeast of us here in eastern Carolina. And again, it's headed on out into the ocean. Not going to be a threat to us here in the east, let alone any landmass. Although it may get close towards Atlantic Canada here. Here's the official forecast track on it. You'll notice it kind of does take a little bit of a left-hand turn and then quickly gets back on that northerly track, still maintaining at 55 miles an hour, but I got a feeling they're probably going to downgrade that here as of this morning when the new observation comes in, and then again headed on up in towards Atlantic Canada as it makes its way on up into the death knells of the North Atlantic. So here's your Storm Track 12 forecast, a repeat of what we saw yesterday. Hot and humid temperatures into the upper 80s and near 90 overnight tonight. I don't think we'll see quite as much fog around, just because we do have a little bit more in the way of cloudiness out there. I'll put in a slim chance of a spotty shower or storm tomorrow afternoon, but I think those will be few and far between. A little upper disturbance that we'll talk about here in a minute is still going to kind of be hanging over the area. Now, we've got the heat is definitely on in the east, but the cooler air is on the move. Take a look at temperatures in central Canada this morning into the 30s and low 40s, and that cooler, drier Canadian air is going to be advecting into our neighborhood here. In fact, notice it's hotter in D.C. and Memphis than it is for us here in eastern Carolina this morning. So we are looking at that warmth kind of going up and around the rim of the upper level ridge, and that's exactly what we are tracking that upper level ridge sitting out there across the Tennessee Valley, directing all the storminess from the desert southwest on up in towards the Great Lakes. But notice the swirl down there just off the Georgia, South Carolina, Florida coast. That's an upper level low. Not anticipating development out of it, but it is going to be bringing some upward motion in the atmosphere. And as a result, that's why we do have some of the a little bit more cloudiness out there for this morning, as well as for later on this afternoon. So here's how Future Track plays it out. These are high mid-level clouds. They'll just kind of give us that filtered appearance to the sky. And then as we head into the afternoon and evening hours here, they're still going to be kind of hanging around, especially east of Highway 17. Now, deep inland spots, Greene County, Martin, Bertie. The potential is there that we could see some light patchy fog tomorrow morning, but we may have just enough southwesterly wind that might not be happening here. And then as we progress on through the day tomorrow, sunshine mixed with a few clouds from time to time, but that upper disturbance kind of starts to move away from the coast, although, again, it's going to be near us. Potentially could pop an isolated storm or two. The main threat, though, does come later Friday with a cold front that's going to be working its way through the area, and we'll see that in here for the day on Friday. Partly sunny skies, scattered showers and storms around. Now, this model's a little bit quicker getting it off the coast before peak heating happens, and that's something I'm going to be watching for, the timing of that front. If it's out of here by noontime, then we've got less of a chance of storms. If it kind of hangs around into the early mid-afternoon hours, that's peak heating with destabilization, good convergence along the front. That potentially could give us some scattered storms in the afternoon hours on Friday. Either way, though, the dry, cool Canadian air makes its way into the neighborhood here as we do head on in through Saturday and Sunday. The golden ice is on the forecast with low humidity, plenty of sunshine. Turn the AC off, open up the windows, at least during the daytime. I close them at night. I wouldn't doubt if we don't see some temperatures in the deep inland spots like Pitt County and Lenore and Martin and Bertie. We may be into the upper 40s early on the weekend mornings. Have yourself a good Wednesday. I'm Storm Track 12 meteorologist Les Still.